will work. I got y'all.
We will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. on ESPN.
This is the most pure joy I've ever felt.
God.
Right most pure joy I've ever felt. I'm thorough. I'm really going to get into this because I understand it very clearly.
Welcome to Highly Questionable. Pablo just tried to make a point, and it was the inverse of true, which I guess was like completely false. And this is all of us celebrating that. Also, this is Monica's first show. Welcome to the show, Monica. Sarah Spain's here, and this idiot over here. I'm Katie Nolan. Let's get started.
Great teammates I got. Real
Sorry,
great
Harvard.
You big dum-dum.
What does it tell you that the Eagles only got a third and conditional second-round pick for Carson Wentz?
Well, first, it tells me that. Watch 4 people in real time try to figure out what exactly that means. For me, the difficulty here is that often with things that happen with the Eagles, you can't really derive too much meaning from any of it, because then they will turn around and do a different thing that's the opposite of what it seemed like it meant in a few minutes if you just wait long enough. I think what it tells us is that Carson Wentz was not worth as much as the Eagles were hoping that he was, but he is a little bit closer to what we all kind of were thinking was his value. And it also tells you he plays for the Colts now. Pablo, you go.
Yeah, this is a super complicated deal that I've had to pore over a couple of times to get right, guys, because there are conditions attached here. So if Carson Wentz plays 75% of the plays for the Colts next season, that 2022 second rounder that the Colts were giving to the Eagles in exchange for Carson Wentz, that becomes a first. They also get that first rounder in that similar transformational way if he plays 75 or 70%, but, and there's a but here, they make the playoffs as well. So that basically means the Colts are now rooting for Carson Wentz to be good, but to their detriment, potentially, because then they actually pay a higher price for him. But the marketplace, Katie, that you mentioned for the Eagles, that's where this all is pretty eye-opening to me, because there were like a half dozen teams, allegedly, heading into the offseason that could have used a new quarterback. Matt Stafford just got traded, 2 first-round picks, Jared Goff got swapped for him. This should have been a hot market. Instead, no. Carson Wentz mostly is a relief to Eagles fans now who no longer have to pretend that they ever really liked Carson Wentz.
Okay, so I guess I got to go back to what Katie said, because technically wasn't Sirianni's hire about the quarterback whispering and supposed to be getting that right? And then we're traded again, so nailed it with that take, Katie. And then Pablo, somehow the Colts are making a plan for Carson also to suck, potentially, kind of. Like, it still sounds like, as much as the brilliant Louis Riddick pointed out on SportsCenter this afternoon, that this is a reclamation project and Carson Wentz is reuniting with Frank Reich, it still sounds like there's a big if, and a lot of people that seem to think he's legit broken, and maybe that 1 year was an outlier.
Yeah, you guys are all nailing it, right? The Colts are not only hoping that he'll be good, they're hedging their bets a bit. And they're the only team that was super into getting him. What it tells us that the Eagles got in return is that the market was dead. And especially because Wentz made it clear he didn't want to go to the Bears. He wanted to go to the Colts, which then removed the other suitor that could up the price. The Colts knew they didn't have to offer much because they were the only ones buying for him. Could it be that Wentz will show up there and be returned to his former glory with the former OC that when paired with, he had a great season? It's possible, but there are a lot of things at play here. There's confidence. There's devolved mechanics. There's injuries. He's going to have a much better offensive line there. He's going to have weapons that hopefully he trusts. And a lot of looking at the tape tells you that the errors and the bad play came in part from feeling like he was constantly going to get sacked and also not trusting that the guys he was throwing to were going to make those catches. Can you fix that overnight? No, but I think at least for Carson Wentz's sake, the Colts are the best place to try to go back and get the guy that we saw that was an MVP candidate.
It also probably tells us, I bet they're going to draft a quarterback. I bet the Eagles draft a quarterback. I mean.
That hurts rock.
LaShawn McCoy said he thinks Tom Brady can play 5 more years. Do you have the guts to say that's crazy?
Yeah, sure, I'll be brave. No, it's not crazy. It actually could be. Look, it's crazy that he's this good now. It's crazy that Tom Brady left the team I root for at 42, and I was kind of sad about it, and then I had to watch him win another Super Bowl. That's crazy. It shouldn't be that way. He would be 48 in 5 years, which is how old I believe George Blanda, the oldest person to play in the NFL, was. So I can tell that it's like a number he's probably aiming for because it's a record and he wants to have all of those. But if you listen to what LaShawn said, the quote was, he can play another 5 years just because not only just the talent or the big arm and all that, it's just like he gets it. He gets it. That's the quote, which to me sounds like a guy who's in love. He's just very, very grateful for the fact that he didn't play a single snap and he got a second Super Bowl ring, the first of which he didn't play a single snap. He's just like, it sounds like he's in a brand new relationship. He's way too over the top. They're in the honeymoon stage. And he's like, look, we just have these conversations. Like sometimes we just talk for like 4 hours and it feels like 30 minutes went by.
I love that, Katie, and I think it's a great point. But I also think if we're going to parse words a little bit here, he did say play. He didn't necessarily say keep winning Super Bowls as in 3 out of the next 5 or anything crazy like that. So I'll be the person saying, yeah, we'll probably be out there. I don't know that he's going to keep winning. Not because Tom Brady isn't fantastic, but at some point the rest of the league has to catch up. I mean, all right, You did it. Go to Tampa, add water. Bruce Arians, diverse staff, we love it. Super Bowl. All right, that's enough. Somebody break the microwave. The instant formula can't keep working.
You're new here, and I can tell because you just doubted Tom Brady's ability to keep defying expectations and playing and succeeding beyond whatever year we've assigned as his last one, which we've now done, I believe, for the last 6 years or so. It's fine. You're new. I get it. I don't want bad things to happen to you like they've happened to me for the last 6 years or so. When I keep saying at some point, Father Time always catches up. Father Time is undefeated, which is a very original thing that I keep trotting out every year, only to have Tom Brady stomp all over my analysis. So no, I'm not going to be the person who has the onions to say he couldn't play till 48. And LaShawn McCoy might be in love. Or he might also be talking about like when he says he gets it, what he gets is I can keep playing quarterback while amounting to 0.02 of a yard per scramble for the season, meaning I can literally almost not move at all. And as long as this arm still does this and this brain still reads defenses better than anybody else, I'm good.
Sarah, we cannot let Monica just dangle in the breeze like that. Monica, I'm going to join you because I know Sarah's very hurt and scared. Katie's self-evidently extraordinarily hurt and scared by Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady likes to make these like mixtape compilations of people doubting him. He just released one after he won this recent Super Bowl. So I'm going to do the brave thing here. And I'm going to say, Tom Brady, despite the fact that I am sitting in front of you, in front of a bunk bed, I'm going to declare that in 2026, you will not be playing well. Put this sound in your mixtape if you dare. 2026, you're 48 years old. You're going to be terrible. See you in 5 years.
Up next on HQ.
Not for every reason that you can think of, this added reason of like the people that are coming behind Serena. The thing that I think makes this so beautiful are the people who would not be in this sport, hypothetically, if it weren't for Serena.
What's your reaction to Naomi Osaka beating Serena and Serena's press conference after?
Yeah, these questions are very long today. What is happening? They're like 8-part questions. Either way, it was obviously the match that everybody was watching. Serena had said before that she's actually really enjoyed there not being a crowd, and there was a crowd, so there were questions about how that was going to work. She lost in straight sets. I've always found this matchup interesting. Obviously, there was 2018 at the US Open when Osaka beat Serena before. And the last time Serena won was here in Australia. That was when she was pregnant. Just a reminder that she's our greatest athlete. But after the match, she was asked a question, and her answer was very interesting. A terrible teacher.
I don't know. I'm done.
Obviously, emotional. She got emotional when being asked those questions. And look, it's an emotional situation. If not for every reason that you can think of, this added reason of like the people that are coming behind Serena. The thing that I think makes this so beautiful are the people who would not be in this sport, hypothetically, if it weren't for Serena and her sister, and they say as much, and Naomi Osaka has been so high, she praises Serena so much, and she's been so grateful and so gracious in every time that that has to be impossible in an individual sport on such a big stage to have the mental clarity to face off against the person you spent your life looking up to. Must be incredibly difficult, and she should be commended for that. But I also think the other side of that is how heavy that must weigh emotionally on Serena, but hopefully she can see through the parts of that hurt and take away from that the parts of that are rewarding, that she did this. She has affected change in this sport and brought us this now generation of athletes who are incredible, not just to beat her, but because of her.
I hate this clip, but I think you're right, Katie. But I don't think that makes her feel any better in the moment. When we look at the Rolodex of wins and her trophy room that she suddenly flexes on social media, like, we know that she was there, but she's still a competitor. And I think the Australian Open represents so much to her. Not only was she pregnant, but it was also her last win, so it's extremely emotional. I had a modicum of success in basketball, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the first 21 years of my life, 15 went to playing ball. And I was a wreck as a senior down the stretch. Like, don't talk to me about this thing ending. Like, I would burst out into tears. My coaches from this day, we still laugh about it. He was like, what was wrong with you? You were insane. Because you pour your heart and soul into something. And as you watched yesterday, sure, we're all excited about Naomi, but it felt literally, as you're watching that second set, number 24 is getting farther and farther away.
Yeah, I think Serena, beyond being sincerely hyper-competitive, as Monica mentioned, she also kind of knows where the conversation has been recently and where it's going, and the fact that she will have to be subject to the same conversation that she very conspicuously opted out of at that podium, which is this the end for someone who has not won since she was pregnant in 2017 at that same Grand Slam tournament? And the Naomi Osaka angle here, Katie, to just build on what you had said before, it's more than just someone who was inspired. It is a family. Naomi Osaka's dad and her mom, like, her dad, an immigrant from Haiti, modeled himself after Richard Williams because he was watching Venus and Serena play at the French Open in 1999 on television. And so then this guy without much expertise in tennis says, I'm going to raise my daughter to be like them. And he does it. And Naomi Osaka is doing all of these things that you referenced in terms of now being 4-0 in Grand Slam semifinals, having won her last 3 finals, now being 2-0 against Serena in these last 2 major tournaments. So for me, it is so much existentialism to put upon the shoulders of the greatest athlete ever. And it's really hard to carry.
Yeah, it was a bummer, right? You want to root for Naomi, but you feel like the window for Serena is closing. So every time she gets this close, you just want her to get there. To speak to the clip, it is fascinating and intriguing if she said, when I do say farewell, I'm not going to tell anyone. That means we're not getting the victory lap. We're not getting a warning. We're not going to know when it's coming unless she changes her mind. We're not going to get her telling us, this is my last Australian Open. This is my last French Open. This is my last Wimbledon. We might start to think so, but a lot of people want to send her out to pasture now. She's still making quarters and semis. She's still getting really close. Yeah. She's doing better than most tennis players will ever do at their peak. So the idea that she would pull out when she keeps getting this close is kind of absurd to me. She's going to keep at it while she's still got a shot. And I think, Katie and Pablo, your point is that it's kind of like the Tiger Woods thing, right? You see the image of your own success and the people coming up after you, which means that not only is she doing the thing we've all very much recognized, which is chasing after Margaret Court, the one who came before her, but she's also potentially trying to put some distance between herself and the ones coming after, because they're not going to have to break down those doors. They're not going to have to be the first. They're not going to have to be go behind me.
Do you question if Ben Roethlisberger's days in Pittsburgh are numbered?
Okay, so the context for this question, the Steelers GM gave a press conference with an answer that we will get to in just 1 second. But first, I must remind you of this answer given by Les Snead in response to whether or not Jared Goff, who at the time was their quarterback, was going to be their quarterback.
Jared Goff's he's a Ram right now. So what's the date?
Wow. Oh no.
Okay. Let's see. January 26th. I mean, that's a fact. What I can say is Jared Goff's a Ram in this moment. And I said it's way too early to speculate the future. That's a beautiful mystery.
Actually, wasn't way too early. I believe it was 3 days later that he was no longer
Not a mystery
Ram.
at all.
So it was, if it was early at all, it was like just a little bit too early. So let's now look at this clip from the Steelers GM in regards to Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, as we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He met with Art Rooney. He met with Coach Tomlin. He met with myself shortly after the season ended. He reiterated that to us, that he wants to continue to play. And we told him, quite frankly, we have to look at this current situation.
So I will say that clip is not as transparent as the one before it. It wasn't as immediately obvious that some lies were being told. He's just filling the space with words in the hopes that you won't notice that some of those words kind of indicate that Ben Roethlisberger is too expensive and not providing the service that they need in exchange for that money, and that something's gotta give.
And it's worth noting, too, Katie, that this is a thing that happens in the NFL all the time. Steve Keim, the GM of the Arizona Cardinals, said something similar about Josh Rosen a couple of years ago. So I just wonder why NFL GMs at press conferences feel like they have to, like, retroactively pass lie detector tests. Like, guys, we're not gonna, like, that dude, Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, was trying to make it seem like, just so you guys know, I'm saying this on this date, and Kevin Colbert is coming out here and saying that, look, as of right now, guys, we're body language doctors. We're amateur body language doctors. We're not going to actually run your words through a lie detector, but very clearly, on the body language, you guys are lying.
I disagree with you, Pablo. There's a reason for them to do that, because we are the jerks who go back and say, on this day, you said he was the quarterback of the future, that 3 days later. Like, we're the annoying gas bags who try to point out that they were lying to us, even if they were lying in service of being able to finalize the trade that wasn't done yet. So I get why they do this. It just doesn't bode well for Ben Roethlisberger. You guys watch The Bachelor. We all watch The Bachelor. You know, the other day when Bree came to Matt and was like all serious, and she was like, so I just want to let you know that I had to lose my job in order to stay here, but I'm willing to make that sacrifice in order to still be here with you. And then shortly after that, Matt was like, oh, cool, thanks, and then gave the rose and took Rachel on the rest of the date. This is what's happening with the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is going public preemptively with the, I don't care about my pay. Like, I'll do whatever this team needs me to do. And the Steelers are like, what we're going to need you to do is not be on the team anymore.
Never
So
say
like,
I
just
love
because
you
you're
first.
willing to sacrifice doesn't mean that they still want you. I think Ben tried to get out ahead of it. And what we're going to find out probably is that he's still too expensive. And unless they have no other options and consider it a rebuild, they don't feel like they need loyalty to him. They just need honesty. I just lost an AirPod because I was so excited about the Bachelor analogy.
Perfect timing.
I mean, Bree, though, dang.
For the record, I don't watch The Bachelor because of fraud just like that. But I will say I agree with you on this one, though, Spain, in that this is, I mean, what do we want this GM to say? If anything, the biggest difference between this clip and the Sneeze clip is that Roethlisberger has been a soldier for the Pittsburgh Steelers for however long, and we would like to see this end somehow amicably, whatever that means. Now, ultimately, the almighty dollar is going to have to say, and bro, your production is not worth your current paycheck. We all know that.
Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, Nets and Lakers.
Oh, so many big names could potentially have played in a theoretical version of this matchup, but obviously we are without Anthony Davis. We're without KD. Kyrie is questionable, but there is going to be a game. We have a clip here. This is Harden's game winner when they came back against the Suns the other night.
Oh, the
I mean, the
reactions
Suns
from
are a
his
good
teammates are
team
great.
this year.
Yeah.
Yes,
And James
Chris
Harden
Paul's
is
got
just-
them boys hooping.
Nobody's
Yes.
forgetting about the Suns.
Sunshine.
There it is. Pumped. Good hype
Oh
squad.
boy. Oh, geez.
He's questionable. That's why. That's why they showed us the clip. He got injured there.
Monica,
That
are you
celebration.
intrigued?
I am 100% intrigued, but not for the reasons that one would think. In the Suns game, the big three that you guys should know about, at least until the tip of the Lakers game, was actually Jeff Green, Landry Shamet, Spain, get it together, and Joe Harris. It was the secondary unit that was playing defense. So I want to see if the secondary unit can defend LeBron and the Lakers.
Sarah, I'm going to give you a minute. Pablo, are you intrigued?
Yeah, I am intrigued. That was excellent basketball analysis by Monica. I'll
Thank you.
also point out that Kyrie Irving is dressing these days like he is on the television show Highly Questionable, a show, incidentally, that Sarah Spain cannot do right now for reasons that you may hint at, and a clip will roll over right now.
I am 100% intrigued, but not for the mainstream reasons. I have a mint in my mouth. Sorry, I know how to do TV. I promise I know how to do TV.
We're doing TV, Monica. Like right now, it's happening.
The hardest thing about the show being edited out of our hands is that a lot of weird stuff has happened today, and we don't know which of it's going to make it into the show. So if right now it seems like we're laughing about nothing, you're wrong. Technically, there was something, you just didn't see it. Sarah, are you okay, and are you intrigued?
No, what happens is I start laughing, and then I try not to laugh, and then I hold it in, and then the laugh
was my
goes
cough!
through my
That's
eyes.
what happened with my
Through
cough!
my eyes. And Monica just tried to do a TV show with a mint in her mouth, and it fell out while she tried to give an answer, and then I started laughing, and then I tried to hold it in, and now I'm crying. And
So
no,
not-
this game
you're not
isn't
intrigued.
interesting. No, it's not interesting. What are we
Not
going to learn? Nothing. Half the
Okay.
players aren't there.
Okay.
It's just 2.
Pablo, jeez Louise.
See under the covers.
Okay, it's in our best interest to wrap this thing up now. That's Pablo Torre. If you want more of him, you can find him at your local IKEA. You can get Monica wherever mints are sold, and Sarah Spain is probably laughing outside your window. Just take a peek.
ESPN Daily!